Welcome to Blue Tinted Glasses, the home of Leicester City talk on YouTube. Fan debates, live watch-alongs, post-match reactions, and all the Foxes banter you could ask for. Subscribe now and see the game through Blue Tinted Glasses.
Just into race clear. He's got Jamie Vardy with him. Jamie Vardy sets off. Jamie Vardy! Back here for Darwin. Oh, he scored! An absolute belter! That is trademark Abdul Fatahwood.
This one into the box. Nugent over the top. Oh, what a goal! David Nugent's just scored a beauty. He's made Forest look like fools.
Premier League champions 2016. The amazing Leicester City.
Good evening and welcome back to Blue Tinted Glasses. What is going on? It's a Fox's Den on a Thursday. Crazy.
What? Yeah.
Crazy. It's been a busy week, so apologies for that. And also hello to the Spotify listeners, because this video is also going to be going up on Spotify because we haven't had time to upload a Spotify podcast this week. So hello to those on Spotify. But yeah, we're here to talk all about Leicester City under Gary Rowett. What's changed? What's improved? What is still terrible? Spoiler, Caleb Okoli. And everything else. A few things to talk about. What our best 11 is. Lots of stuff. So stay tuned and get your comments in. Archie's here. Hello to Archie. Kunal, hello to you, mate. Hello to Rich as well. Frankie. Wolf, what's going on, mate? Fox's Army, all right, lads, and Paul as well. Anil, what's going on, mate? How are you?
I'm all good. Just preparing my lungs for my King Power out chance at the protest on Saturday. So getting ready for that. We have seen an improvement in the team, which is good to see, but we are still in the bottom three. So let's not forget why we're there. But yeah, otherwise I'm doing well. How are you, Lots?
All good, all good. A slight upturn in results. When I say upturn in results, I mean 2 draws, which we would have prayed for 4 weeks ago. Still without a win, without Jordan James, though. However, we found out the news today. He is in training. He is even in contention to appear this weekend, although I would imagine that would probably be put back another week just to be safe, but let's wait and see. Now, before we talk about Rowett and the team, I want to just start off by talking about what Anil mentioned. Obviously, there is a protest on Saturday, so I'm going to bring it up on screen and I'll read it out to the audio listeners. So, with King Power as owners, Leicester City supporters experience some of the greatest moments in our history, and that gratitude will always remain. However, after years of sustained decline on and off the pitch, culminating in the recent points deduction as a result of multiple PSR breaches, it is now undeniable that the club's current ownership model and leadership are no longer fit for purpose. For Leicester City to rebuild with stability, restore standards and reconnect with its supporters, new ownership is now required. So join us for a protest march prior to the Norwich match, Saturday the 28th of February. March departs at 11:30 a.m. from outside F Bar on Walnut Street, and it ends outside of the club shop at the King Power Stadium, of course. Once we reach the stadium, please stick together and make your voices heard. Turn up, bring your banners, bring your voices, and take this opportunity to make a real difference. We want our Leicester back. And to add to that, the support in the ground, go for it. Support the team. Yes, they do need us. Yes, there are some people that say boycotting, and in a normal season, or even in a fairly normal season, and even a few weeks ago, I would agree. But I think now this is probably the right course of action. Protest outside the ground. Do all of that stuff. Be loud. But inside the ground, also be loud, but in support of the team and the new manager, Gary Rowett. But you can do both, Anil, right? You can demand change and kind of protest against the ownership whilst also supporting the players. Because some people, Anil, think it's just black or white, one or the other. You can't protest and support the team. I think you can do both. One outside the ground and one inside, be loud inside the ground.
You definitely can, but I do think you make an interesting point, because I do think you're right that if the situation was not so haphazard with us in the bottom three, I personally do think that boycotting the game is like I've told you, like I'm not going to the game, for example, at the weekend. That's just a personal thing. I want to go to the game. I love seeing them. I'll be traveling, quite a long way to just go and protest essentially. But I do agree with you. At the end of the day, the song always goes through the good times and the bad. We always back the lads. We're pushing it to its maximum at the moment. But yeah, I do agree with you.
Yeah. Yes, keep it positive in the ground. Absolutely, Jimbo. And yeah, we won't be live streaming, Nick, but I will, of course, get some videos and stuff like that. We can do a video on it afterwards. Anyway, just in time. Look at that. The timing on the guy is impeccable. Shame about his background, though. Steve, what's going on, mate? How are you?
Oh, yeah, I'm not bad, mate. Yourself? Actually, no. I'm taking it back. You're a rat, and we'll leave it there, but you're a fucking rat. That's what I'll say.
Steve is talking about Football Manager, where, yeah, we don't need to get into that, but I've ratted it. Well, yeah. Anyway, I hope the protest will be peaceful. One thing I have said, Azola, is if I know from even, I've spoken to some of the most staunchly out, King Power out people, there are no plans for this to not be peaceful. It's going to be peaceful. If it turns sour, I can assure you it's going to be the people on the other side kicking off, because as we've already seen this season, there were fans kicking off and getting aggressive with members of, I mean, you've seen it, Steve, with your own eyes, right? People
Yeah.
on the other side of the argument are the ones who've been getting aggressive in the stadium, right?
Yeah, and this isn't like me generalizing, but it's the majority of them are older gentlemen that don't like younger people giving their opinions across, and that is what it has been. And look, as Locke said, we've spoken to a lot of big, lesser accounts. We've spoken to a lot of people, and we've all said, just be nice, say what you want. But after that, back the lads in the ground afterwards. But yeah, look, we'll be peaceful, and yeah, just if there's any issues, it's not on our end, that's for sure. But it is what it is. You can't, predict what people are like, can you? When they see any sort of provocative. That's the one.
This is the IQ of the people going to the protest, by the way. No, but so yeah. Anyway, don't worry. And Nil's not going to be there with fucking Molotovs and shit like that. Fucking
what?
Doscat.
Oh, I'm glad you told me. I better not pack them then. All right.
Leave him on the train. Leave him on the train. Right. Okay. Gary Rowett's Leicester City and Nil. 2 games, 2 points. Prior to that, we'd lost 5 games or 4 games in a row, whatever it was. Obviously, the first half against Stoke, horrific. Really, really poor. But a nil since that moment, half-time of that Stoke City game, it seems to me there are massive, massive improvements within the team. What's happening on the pitch. Now, we're going to talk about a few different things today, but the first thing that comes to my mind, and somebody spoke to me about it earlier, asked me, what's changed? And I want to get your thoughts on it, Anil. My first thing that comes to my mind is work ethic. I think these players are working harder than they have for 2 years. Literally, probably since Enzo was here. This is the hardest I've seen them work. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Do you agree with that? Do you think, because for me it's visible. You can see it on the eye.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure as we get through this, we're going to talk about first the eye test, and we have got some stats, but obviously it being 2 games, it's not much of a sample size, but there are still some things to see. But yeah, absolutely. Like, you can just see the amount of challenges and tackles that the team are putting in throughout the whole team, to be honest with you. I think it was really exemplified by Ollie Skip in the last game against Borough. He looked completely shagged at about 70 minutes, and we were saying he should probably go off. And somehow he found a second wind. And in the last 10 minutes, I think he put in at least 2 or 3 blocks. One block, it looked like he stopped a surefire goal. That was unbelievable. And, basics do matter, right? Putting your bodies on the line is a basic way to start turning your form around and get something out of a game, which we did. So absolutely. So definitely, I think the work rate, and the second word I would add to that, Locks, is to take it from you, because you said this since game number 1, organisation. That to me is actually maybe the bigger thing to see about it. Their players actually look like they know what they're supposed to do, barring a certain Italian centre half. And that bodes well throughout the whole team. Like, I think, there's a comment there someone's put there about back to basics football instead of tippy tappy, but I don't know why certain people just like, if you pass the ball, that's considered a crime. Because the thing is, I think under Gary Rowett, we've actually passed the ball better than we have done under Martin Cifuentes. You could actually argue that maybe we gave the goal away because we were trying to play a bit tippy-tappy out in the back, and he even said afterwards that Caleb should have gone long there in his press match conference. So, but yeah, the organisation, I think the difference is that now when we're passing it around, there seems to be clear sort of patterns or where they should pass the ball to and who should be getting into the spaces, and that's got us up the pitch further. So for me, I don't know about you guys, but I've been very pleasantly surprised. I did think he would get a bit of a new manager bounce and we would start to pick up some points under him. But I thought it would just be very ugly and we probably scrap the points. And you could say, well, against Borough, you basically just got a goal from a set piece. But I don't think that really says the story of the game at all. I think if you looked at the game, we were well worth, I think, that point. And I think if we hadn't conceded such a bozo goal, who knows, we might have even have stuck it out. But yeah, like I said, I think the attacking play, the organisation, plus the work ethic has allowed us produce, quality throughout the whole team. So I have to say, I'm super impressed. Ultimately, I think you can only judge him at the end of the season. But I think for me, the biggest thing is just like, if we do go down, it will be another one where if we'd have just appointed him like 3 or 4 weeks earlier, we would have blatantly stayed up. It just seems very obvious. But I think he's doing better, for example, than Dean Smith when he came into the team during the first time that we were in that absolute, up the creek without a paddle and we needed something to turn around. So let's hope we can do it. But yeah, those mistakes are still costing us.
Just quickly, sorry, Ninja Adam, the Spotify one is just on Spotify, but it covers everything we talk about in the week. You're not missing anything really, so don't worry about that. But this week, this episode now, which we're talking on, is the Spotify. This is going on to Spotify. So, Steve, let me ask you, mate, something similar about the work ethic. Obviously, you've been to both games. I want to ask you, because there's no point in me asking you, are we working harder? Right? We know, like I just asked Neil, we know we're working harder. Do you think, or has the improved work ethic resulted in a better atmosphere in the away end? Because I can imagine when the fans in the stand are watching the team actually run, actually put challenges in, actually throw themselves in front of the ball, looking like they actually want to win a game, I would imagine then that reflects on the fans in the stand as well.
Yeah, so if you take the Stoke game, for example, look, that first half was atrocious. We all know it. It was probably one of the worst games I've seen so far this season, that first half, and conceded a goal after 3 minutes. But the fans didn't stop chanting. And then in the second half, it improved significantly because you could see the players making the effort. And there was 700 fans there on Tuesday night at Middlesbrough. And yeah, whilst it was quiet at times, I do think when you see players like Oliver Skipp sprinting back ahead of Luke Thomas to get a tackle in to block one, or even Harry Winks getting involved, or anybody really, it does make the entire fan experience better because you are louder, you are chanting more, you get behind the lads, and you can see that on the pitch. So, it does go hand in hand. If you see players making the effort, the fans will make the effort too. But if the fans aren't making the effort, the players might not make the effort. So it's a catch-22 situation. But I think, yeah, the players will get a lift from that because there's been no booing at all in the last couple of games from what I've seen, and at full time, they all came over, they all got rounds of applause, chants and stuff, what you'd expect. They haven't had that recently. So I think they are growing in confidence for sure. But just, Anil was talking about getting us up the pitch and stuff. There's one move in particular that I haven't seen a lot this season, but I've seen it a lot more in the last couple of games. And that's when Steffi gets the ball on the byline, rather than passing it back to Luke Thomas, who passes it into the middle of the park to pass it onto the other side of the wing, he's passed it to Luke Thomas, who's then found Mikasa, and he's looking for that ball in behind for Steffi to run onto. And I if I had time earlier, I would have found the clip and I would have sent it through to you, but I've just been really busy. But we've had more opportunities where we tried to play the ball behind the fullback, and I haven't seen that all season. So that, to me, sounds like, it looks like that we're changing things. We are trying more and we're getting into more attacking positions, which is overall a better outcome for the squad.
Yeah. Jack said it here, and, we always talk about it. I always refer to it as a chicken and the egg theory, if you like, on, because the fans would say it's the performances on the pitch making the atmosphere flat. and the people involved with the football, like the manager or the players, would say, well, it's the atmosphere in the stands that's not helping us. So which is it? But a nil, for me, it's unquestionable. Like, if there is Matt Piper talks about it all the time, but if the fans watching the game have a team they can actually like, because, we've had a team for 2 years that we dislike because they don't look like they care. If there is a team that we like, we will be behind them 100%. And some people will call that fickle, Anil, but I don't think it's fickle at all. I think it's a two-way relationship. Like, they're there to perform. They're there for entertainment for us as fans, and we're there to watch and pay their wages, right? So it's a two-way thing. They have to be able to they have to get us on board, and that's not happened enough. But it seemed, I know it's only 2 games, and look, we could be way early here, and in 2 games' time we're saying they're fucking bunch of cowards again. But as it stands, it looks like they are taking that step towards fixing that relationship between the fans and the players.
Yeah, you're speaking my language. I don't think this manager would tolerate players that didn't work. I think he would haul them. So I don't think you need to really worry about that. I do have to say that for me, it's actually one of the things that I would use the word despise about the kind of current squad and what's happened to Leicester. Like, for me, I grew up supporting the team during the Martin O'Neill era. Now, during that era, we actually won quite a few trophies with a pretty underdog team. And the players that really kind of pulled at your heartstrings were like Neil Lennon, Robbie Savage, Muzzy Izzy, of course, he had a bit more quality, Steve Guppy. A lot of these players weren't the most technical players you've ever seen, but the work rate and effort that team put in every single game, it really made it easy to get behind you. Like, the first game I ever saw, I'm quite fortunate, was the one where Dennis Bergkamp scored the hat-trick, but the game was still 3-3 because Steve Walsh headed it in right at the end. That's what made me fall in love with the club. It was like, that shows you that that's what hard work ethic and getting behind the team can really do for you. And so for me, that's a minimum that I expect from the team. And I actually think that what's happened is that when we got that bit of success, especially post FA Cup, that kind of went to our heads a little bit, maybe getting the training academy as well. And it's like, we'll try to act like a big club, but we're not really at that stage yet. And I don't think you should forget the DNA that got you to where you were. So yeah, it's really good to see that. And I think that should be an absolute minimum. And look, at the end of the day, no, I think you don't have to get, it shouldn't be expected on the crowd, right? Not being funny. These guys are millionaires, right? Even some of the young players coming through. If you are, like, I don't know about you, but if I was fortunate enough to be good enough to play football at a professional level, I would absolutely work my ass off. I mean, I do it at the very low level that I play. So one thing that even if I had bad touches, missed an open goal, whatever, at the end of the game, you think, yeah, but you coming off like drenched in sweat because you ran your balls off. You can't really say much more else about it. That should be the minimum. So yeah, it really upsets me that we haven't been that way. 2 games is not much of a sample size, but we need that from now on. But what I will say is that kind of thing can be quite, almost addictive to the players. Like I think like Jurgen Klopp really got it with Liverpool as well. Like, the hard work and intensity, once it becomes part of your culture, everyone's expecting it and the crowd can kind of get behind it. And, one of the reasons we all love Jamie Vardy is not just for the goals that he scored, but sometimes he would make a fairly pointless tackle in like the corner flag, and he wouldn't even win the ball. It'd just go out for a throw in for the other team. But the thing is, it got the crowd up, right? And it got us pumped. So,
and I say Daka was doing that in Middlesbrough. He did a couple of them.
Yeah,
he did a lot. Well,
yep.
Well, go on, Steve. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I also think it's really important to say that it's good that he's had 2 away games and not home games to deal with, because I think if you turn up at away games, there's less pressure than playing in front of your own fans for the first time. And no offense to anybody that doesn't go, but if you go to away games, you're technically the most loyal fan base, aren't they? Because they go week in, week out, they go all over the country, they spend extra money, etc., etc. And if you can get those lads on side, the chances are that will then help with the home performances as well. So I think it's taken the pressure off. It means they've had 2 decent results against a very good Middlesbrough side and a Stoke side that were, in free fall a little bit. But overall, they battled back, which is great. And they got a decent result on Monday. And it means that the Norwich game, which I think is probably the biggest game of the season by far, and I actually think it might be the biggest game of the season total, because I think if West Brom beat Oxford and we lose to Norwich, 4 points, mentally, that's a massive hit on the confidence. But I just think that, the fans will get behind the lads if they see them trying. And I think that's what we'll get going forward. We will get players that will try, apart from IU, because walking around all over the place like he doesn't give a shit, whatever. But everyone else on that pitch that I've seen Daka running, Skip running, even Harry Winks, as you know, as you're about to show, has been putting in the effort a lot more. So, you know, it's good to see because we've been crying out for it for a long time.
For the visually impaired, I'm going to hand you over to Anil, aka those on Spotify. That's not a blind joke. I'm handing over to Anil. I'm handing over to Anil, who can hopefully talk us through what he's brought up here.
Yeah, so let's have a look at some of the stats. There's not much going because we've only seen 2 games, but you can still see a marked difference in the team compared to previous games. So talking about tackles, first thing is that Steve mentioned was Patson Daka. We can see he made 3 tackles in the last game alone. He didn't even play the full 90. You can also see that Jordan Nye didn't make any challenges in the 28 minutes he was on the pitch, which also summarizes him. But yeah, compared that to some of his, these are all the games since the start of the year, and you can see he actually made more tackles in that game than he had done in the rest of the season put together. So that just shows you that pressing and getting stuck in. Now, Harry Winks is someone who gets much maligned on here for obvious reasons. Like we always talk about him being like a ball playing 6. He doesn't really get stuck in. He actually made the most tackles of any Leicester player on their pitch in that game against Borough. 4 challenges, 2 he made in the previous game against Stoke. So that's a massive turnaround. And look at his midfield partner, Ollie Skip, the same thing, 3 challenges. Again, you might remember Lox and I having that nightmare game against Newcastle where Hamza Chowdhury and Ollie Skip midfield made 0 tackles as they beat us. Was it 4-1, 5-1? I think I
was there. What a horrible experience that was. Yeah, it was when Hermanson went off at half-time. We brought Danny Ward on, didn't we? And we conceded 2 in like 4 minutes. It was horrible.
Yeah. And not just that, but you've got Divine Makassa. I think he's been our best player since he's come into the team. 3 tackles himself, plus an assist. And even then he got hauled by Rowett for actually losing a bit of his level, which says a lot. So, and even Ricardo, Luke Thomas. So just in terms of like, you know, we can see it on the eye test that we're working hard on. It's not just game. Look at it in the Stoke one as well. You can see that the players are getting stuck in. So very basic thing, but it's a big difference maker. You can also see a similar story in terms of interceptions. Now, actually here, this is quite interesting, right? And Steve actually mentioned it there. And sorry, I went on my tirade about the Martin O'Neill day, so I kind of forgot about it. But he mentioned the fullbacks, and I think that is the biggest thing tactically that Rowett has done. So the thing is that like under Marty, we were trying to play these kind of inverted fullbacks, right? To become 3 men to overload the midfield and make these kind of passing triangles. But what ended up happening is that our fullbacks often got caught out of position, or it meant that teams could target either Luke Thomas or to a lesser extent, Ricardo Pereira. Now, what you're seeing here is that under Garrett, we've gone back to more of a basic 4-2-3-1. I would describe it more like how Brendan Rodgers set us up in the second season, not the first season. First season, we played 4-1-4-1. Second season, he dropped Yuri Tielemans back to be more of a double pivot with Wilfred and Ndidi. And it meant that the attacking width was coming from the overloads from Ben Chilwell and Ricardo Pereira down either side. So we've gone more back to that sort of way. And what you're seeing here is Ricardo and Luke Thomas are making more interceptions as a result. And that's because of their positioning and their organization. So the thing is when they're in the middle, right, they're getting bypassed a lot by these balls that are attacking them down the flanks, and we're getting caught out. Whereas now they're in the right position. So I don't know about you, but for example, against Borough, we were terrified of having Luke Thomas going in. But by the end of the game, I don't think he put a foot wrong, did he? You know, he even had that really good shot in the 92nd minute. So simple positioning can make a big difference there. So he can see interceptions as well. That it's not just the fullbacks, but again, across the rest of the team. Steffi Mavididi, again, I think he goes under the radar, but he does work hard. It's a shame his finishing hasn't been there, but, you know, getting stuck in, that's made a big difference there as well. Now, another thing that I suppose no one's picked up yet, but has obviously been a big difference, maybe I'll zoom out a bit here, is the offside trap. Now, this is something that we did actually try very early on with Marty Cifuentes, but I think that Preston game where we just got destroyed by it at the end when Osmajic just bullied Vestergaard to score, was it 2 goals he scored? We lost that game anyway. As a result of that, we kind of abandoned the offside trap, but Gary Rout's brought it back. And I think if you've got Ben Nelson and Caleb Okoli, it's something you can do. So what you're seeing here, we didn't get it too successful against Borough. They were only offside against us once the whole game. I think that's because we played a much deeper block against them. If you look against Stoke, you know, we caught them offside quite a lot of times. Whereas if you compare this to some of the other games that we played, well, you can see in some of the Marty era, games where there wasn't a single offside the whole match, right? So offside trap doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. You can obviously get caught on unawares. Look at what happened with the way that Barcelona play. But that, I think, as part of the organisation and going back to kind of more basic 4-2-3-1 has, in my opinion, let me ask you guys, do you think we look better or worse defensively since the new manager came in?
Better. better. Without a question, I think we look better. We look more organised. The problem, obviously, which we'll talk about, is just the bozo gene, which doesn't go away, anytime soon, right, Steve? It's still there.
Yeah, I would say we have improved, but against Borough, there were so many times where they still went past our fullback on the left, Luke Thomas or Ricardo, and they were putting balls into the box still with plays that were free. I think that there's something that they'll work on for sure. But yeah, I mean, we weren't all sort of head in hands every time they got the ball the last couple of games. So that has been an improvement. If we're not scared, then at least there's a little improvement there.
Yeah, I think to be fair, you got to say that Borough were clearly the best team we've played this season. Even teams that have spanked us like QPR were not as good as they were. The way that they sustained the pressure over a lot of the game. And I actually think the manager as well deserves credit that last 10 minutes, actually Borough did not really put us under that much pressure, which was a bit of a surprise. So that was good. And, they sort of ran out of ideas, which was nice to see. Another thing I just want to bring up here then is crosses. So a lot of people in chat have mentioned the slightly more direct play, which I agree with. I think, again, Steve mentioned it, that rather than going for the ball backwards, we're trying to go for the ball forwards more. I think it's more like traditionally into like the half spaces in between the winger and where the attacking midfielder would be. Personally, I've been very impressed with the way that Mavadidi and Divine Makassa have been combining on the left-hand side. They're managing to find each other quite well. It looks a bit almost KDH and Mavadidi-esque. And so here you can see, always surprising, the player with the most amount of crosses in the last 2 games, believe it or not, has been Harry Winks. So getting forward a little bit more into spaces and trying to put the ball in. But again, you're seeing crosses more from the fullbacks, which is good because they're not playing so much in the inverted role, but being able to support the winger. And I think that's something we'll work on. I think Mavadidi, he does not like passing the ball to his fullback, does he? He's just been allergic to that every time he's been at Leicester. Whereas for Tower and Ricardo, that's never really been a problem. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. So slightly more direct play you can see. But yeah, maybe what's kind of interesting to see though is that otherwise, if you look at the stats, the thing is, if you look at the team without the eye test, otherwise it kind of looks pretty similar. So it's one of those things where, stats don't tell the full story, but you can already see, I think that, organization, better work rate. I think as well, we have to say, well, basically what I was looking for is I was thinking, were we any more potent in attack? And really, if you see it, we're about the same, I would say. It's not like we're having particularly more shots on goal than we were in previous matches. Better than some, worse
more
than
shots
others.
on target, no?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you can say but it's not like massively so, right? It's not like all of a sudden we got twice as much. Like it's a slight improvement. We're not amazing. And I did also look to see what about shots against, like, did we manage to keep the amount of shots down compared to previous games? Well, I mean, you can see against Borough, I mean, just their left-hand side, the Loans had 11 shots across the game. So not necessarily. There were some times where we did have to play the deep block. And yeah, it's a similar story all season. So look, that's the early days of the team, but you can already see that, I think, you can mention it. Let's be honest. If we took away 3 brain dead errors, we could have had 6 points instead of 2 from the games that we've got. So that's, I guess, the only unfortunate thing about his era so far.
Yeah. I mean, let's look at some of the comments here. Seeing Daka in a defensive position to see the ball out for a goal kick just says it all about the work ethic. I was at that game, still one of my the 3-3 against Arsenal.
Yeah, legendary.
What I would say as well, that I mean, you mentioned there, like, the data doesn't really suggest that too much has changed, but I suppose that's when the work ethic does come into it, doesn't it? Because you bridge a gap, Steve. Like, if there is a gap there between there shouldn't be a gap technically between us and Stoke or us and Middlesbrough, but there is at the moment, and that work ethic bridges the gap to some degree, and that's probably why on the eye it looked much better when statistically it's not that much better.
Yeah, I think you can outplay talent if you work hard enough, but you can't outweigh working hard enough with talent. I don't think, in these teams, you've got to have players that will put the shift in and get around the pitch, and mixing that with some talented players like your Abdul, your Steffi, who, let's be honest, he doesn't track back as much. He doesn't do as much in the defensive sector. But if you've got players around you like Oliver Skip, who will run through walls for you, which, let's be honest, we wouldn't have said that a year ago. And even your defenders, like Ricardo played better at the week. He's still not great, but he was better on Tuesday night. And goes the time of, you can't play 2 games in a week. Well, clearly he can. So, why not? But yeah, I do think that they are working harder, and it is clear to see. And my main example is that there was in the last couple of games, Macassar has been running with the ball for about 10 or 15 yards, and there's been 4 players screaming at him for the ball that have broken from the centre circle with him. And he has it. And got the free kick against Middlesbrough, fine. But that already screams a significant difference compared to what I've seen previously. There weren't players pushing into that area to try and get into an attacking position. And yet we saw that on Tuesday. So, yeah, I mean, we all dream of a team that worked hard. And look how we won the Premier League. It was a team that didn't stop, that were there continuously. And yes, we had talented players in Mahrez and Vardy, but you had Kante, who was a workhorse. You had Drinkwater, who was talented, but still a workhorse. You had Fuchs and Simpson that were everywhere. So, yeah, as long as we've got that, I'm happy. Give me the effort over talent, that's for sure.
What about Jordan Ayew's effort?
No, he's dog shit. And I say that in the nicest way possible. When he came on, there were times when Macassar was further up the pitch than Jordan Ayew. That shouldn't be.
It was just that left back. It was that left back position, man. It's just he's always a left back or a left winger. That's literally all Jordan Ayew does. It's the most infuriating thing on the planet. I mean, I was scrolling through, I was doom scrolling this afternoon on TikTok, as I do. And I came across that, this isn't going to become political, by the way, guys, just saying. But I did see that, I saw this, that New York, what's the New York mayor, the new one?
Mangiani?
Mamdani, yeah. I saw one of his quotes from one of the debates he did. And it said, what I don't have in experience, I make up for in integrity. And what you don't have in integrity, you could never make up for in experience. And I thought of Jordan Ayew straight away. I thought, yeah, well, there you go. But, I mean, you look at Mukasa, right, who, I mean, I think you could throw Mukasa in as the number 9 and he'd do 10 times better than Jordan Ayew does. Obviously, the problem was Daka was knackered. What do you do? What do you do? If Silko was an option in Hill, I would have preferred Silko to have come on. But obviously, he wasn't on the bench. I'd put Silko on the bench, even though Silko, technically, he's not going to score goals, whatever. But neither does Daka. I just think for the press...
I agree. Yeah. I've been saying that for a long time. I think energy is underrated and you force mistakes by the rest of your team committing hard. And you just see Jordan Ayew, it's not just... some games, to be fair, he does get challenges in, but I feel that when he puts his challenges in, he's not even in the right spaces. Like, he's not really winning the ball back as high up the pitch as you'd like him to. He's just drifted into, it just seems like he's gone for a wander, ended up in midfield, or as you say, the left back position. And yeah, sure, he sticks his butt out and wins a free kick or something like that, but it doesn't really help your team unless you're just trying to scrap for set pieces. It's not really good for the fluid play. But yeah, I think the manager has said several times that we need to be more careful in transition. I think that's something that he's big on. I think that is how modern football is, that as soon as you win the ball back, you got to score within 10 seconds. So I think Macassar as well, like you did mention that free kick, but I think he should have released the ball a bit earlier and we could have actually put Mavididi in. But I think that will come, obviously, to eat 5 goal contributions already, by the way, in the games that he's played. Absolutely incredible. And you might well have called it, Logs. I could see when Jordan James is fully fit. I don't think we'll see that for a few weeks, even if he starts playing some part in games. But he might well change the shape to do something like that, to get our best team out on the pitch.
Well, you talk about our best team out on the pitch. So, what is our best team out on the pitch? Again, for the visually impaired, I've brought up a squad builder here. I've already filled 2 positions because I think we'll agree on them. Ben Nelson and Begovic in guard. Begovic, that triple save, by the way, in the game on Tuesday. Very, very good. For what it's worth, I don't think the levels between Begovic and Yaka are that big. But I think Begovic is definitely the safer pair of hands at the moment. So... What we saying here, lads? Now, are we still saying Ricardo? I mean, I will say that I think the Stoke game, he was hit and miss, right? He wasn't great. Actually, I think he was quite poor, especially in the first half. Thought he was pretty good against Middlesbrough. Are we still putting him in as the right back who should start under Rowett? Or are we saying Badialuko?
There's what we think and what he'll do. I think he'll stick with Ricardo. I think, to be fair, maybe he was bad in that first half against Stoke, but I think second half he was actually pretty good. I do think that now he's not been asked to invert, but play more like his traditional position that he was doing, like I say, under Brendan Rodgers. in this division, you'll probably see more of him. But there is definitely a strong case there. I think we'll have to see how it goes because, teams were targeting that position too. Now he's getting a bit more support. So jury's out, but I think to stay up, maybe you do still play Ricardo just because he's the better quality player. But it depends. If we're getting outrun physically, then we need to make the change pronto.
Yep.
Yeah. Would you? Yeah, you'd agree with that, Steve. Yeah.
I would, yeah.
Next to Ben Nelson. Let's see. Oh, are we? Should we just say Jamal Lascelles?
Yeah.
I would. Yeah. If he's fit, you play Lascelles because unfortunately, Okoli is probably the weakest big man I've ever seen play football. He gets beaten quite a lot, and his passing is so all over the place. But he does get in front of the ball and he does get some blocks in. So, but I think Lascelles is clearly the leader, and he's somebody that will help sort of put Nelson in the right place because I think Nelson can go wandering sometimes as well. He needs that sort of dogged determination, and I think Lascelles will give that to him.
I have a question for you, though.
Go on.
Well, so what if Vestergaard is back, but Lascelles isn't? So now the choice is between Vestergaard and Okoli. Who do you put in there?
Vestergaard, as long as he's on the right-hand side, not left-hand side. Vestergaard.
But then you can't play the offside trap.
Exactly. That's what I was getting at. It's a tricky dilemma, isn't it? Well, you could play it, but it's a gamble. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what the answer to that is. But I do have to say, I think that like Okoli now, he might even be the centre-back that's made the most errors leading to a goal, even in the entire division, right? One was a red card. So that's an issue. That's a really big issue. And I mean, that against Borough was arguably even more criminal. Just like 1 minute from half time. There's no need to make a blind pass there. It's just bozo.
He plays like KSI. He's exactly like KSI.
This is going to feel violently disgusting, but we're going to have to put Luke Thomas at left back, aren't we?
Yeah, over Christensen for sure.
For Christensen's out for the season, so that's been confirmed. I don't think anyone's really cared about that, but I mean, you could make the case of putting a Luco on that side. The one time he's been tried in that position. Wow.
Yeah, we talk about that. Well, it's not. I mean, with JJ coming back soon, it's not the worst of options. Now, this is. Right. I'll tell you what we'll do first. We're agreeing on Patterson Daka, yeah? Just for what he offers. And what are we saying? Are we saying Fatawu still?
Yeah, Abdul. Yeah, Mukasa in the cam and Steffi on the left. I think we can all agree on that, right?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to play Mukasa. So, what do we do there, lads? What do we do here? Now, I know what Anil's going to say, because Anil is like the biggest Oliver Skip hater in the world. But
I just picked him up earlier.
Second to Manny. But so there's an interesting debate going on in our community group chat earlier today. People are saying JJ has to work for his space back in the team. Now, I'm dead against that. Like Jordan James. Let us know in the comment section in the live chat if you think JJ has to work for his place back in the team. For me, and I'm interested to hear what you both have to say, he is the one person that does not need to do that. This man carried us all season, and I must say, even with the 2 positive results recently, we still have not won a single league game without Jordan James in our team. So, Anil, surely he goes straight back in when he's fit.
Yeah, as soon as he's properly match fit, I still think that'll be a few weeks, but of course he goes straight back in. As you said, that's the stats. We said it at the time, we're in trouble now that he gets injured, and we haven't won a single game without him. Got to be in the team.
Well, I think you're underestimating though, Anil, when you say a few weeks. I think he could be back the following week. I think he'll play the following week.
He might, but do you remember at the start of the Marty era as well that he always used to get taken off at about 60 minutes? So,
yeah, true.
Well, all I'm worried about, Lux, is this. Of course, everyone's eager for him to play, but I just don't want to, I mean, look what's happened with Lascelles. He came in for a couple of games and then he's out injured for a couple of weeks. You're better off. Let's say Jordan James can only play 5 games between now and the end of the season. We could actually win all 5 of those games that he's in. So I'd rather that rather than you try him for 2 and 3 and then he gets injured and he can only play 2 or 3 games. So that's all I'm saying. But I suspect you could tell, again, I don't know if you've seen the pre-match press conference of the manager, but he wants Jordan James back and he wants him back yesterday, doesn't he?
Yeah. Okay, Steve, are you in agreement, mate? Jordan James walks straight back in?
Yeah, I mean, look at his goals and assists this season. It's ridiculous to try and keep him out. We have a much better chance of winning football games with Jordan James in that midfield.
Yeah. So who goes next to him? That's the question. So I think you're both going to say Harry Winks. And look, I'm not gonna like sit here and argue against you that Harry Winks should play. I personally think if the kind of criteria is that Jordan James definitely starts, I personally think Oliver Skipp deserves to play alongside him over. I'm not even going to call him half a season Winks, a quarter of a season Harry Winks, who can only be bothered to play for this team a quarter of the season when his contract's expiring. But I'm open. I mean, Steve, you look keen to jump in. Go on, mate.
So, yeah, this is the most difficult decision out of the entirety of the squad. I would say that, yes, you need Skipp in there for his engine in that midfield because he does get himself about a bit. But if you are looking to win football matches, and Locks, you won't like this, Harry Winks in the last couple of games has been outstanding. In the second half against Stoke, he was really good, and I would say even against Middlesbrough, he was getting about, he was on the ball, he was making chances.
TV gave him man of the match in that game.
Exactly. And as much as Oliver Skipp has had an improvement this season, I still think you have to have Harry Winks in there with JJ and Macassar. Because imagine, right? Like, I know you don't like the idea, but imagine JJ, Winks, and Macassar running that midfield. That's enough to get you hard in the morning.
Yeah, well, Anil, does it definitely have to be Harry Winks?
I think if you want to stay up, it probably has to be. I mean, I know. Like, we've had this conversation many times in terms of the attitude. He shouldn't be in the squad, or we should have got rid of him if we could in January, but we couldn't. And he's shown. I mean, the thing is that this Winks that can't even be bothered is still. He did it at the start of the season as well when he came on as well. I remember even the first game of the season against Sheffield Wednesday, he came on and the team immediately started playing. That's the effect that he has on the way that we play. So it's a thing. And I think that is for next season, no matter what league we're in, is going to be a big issue, is that I think CDM it needs to be fixed. Don't know who's going to do it. So yeah, there you go. I mean, if you want to, we could start thinking about alternatives. Like, is there a way that you can get them all in? Like, what happens
Skipp
if
at left back?
Yeah, Skipp at left back. Yeah.
I think that's, pardon my words here, retarded. But what if you put Daka out of the team, you put Macassar as the false nine, and then you had Skipp, Winks, and Jordan James in the team somehow?
I think you're more likely to see Steffi drop out, Macassar on the wing,
Could
JJ
be.
into that 10. But I don't think JJ plays in that role, does he? He's not in that position. He doesn't work in that position for me.
What about Joe Aribo? No one's mentioned him. Or Aaron Ramsey?
He's Aribo. Like, I've never seen a player look so gangly on his legs before. He looks like Bambi.
I like him. I like Joe.
He's good as a bench player, but I don't think he's a starter.
I was going to say, and this does happen quite a lot in football, Anil, but in the space of 3 weeks, you can go from having such light numbers in midfield to too many players. And I think when JJ's back, you're in the midfield 3, so including the 10, your options are Macassar, Winks, James, Skipp, Joe Aribo, Louis Payne,
Bobby Reid.
Well, yeah, Bobby Reid as well, and it's kind of he was good on the weekend. Steve on Tuesday, he was good on Tuesday.
Was he?
Yes. Are you on crack?
No, I saw him lose the ball a few times, and
the first half he was really good. He was knackered in the second half. He was knackered, but he was good in the first half, man. But he was playing he wasn't in the 10, right? He wasn't in the 10. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not dead against Anil. So my question, Anil, do you think then? So you're admitting, Anil, you think Luke Thomas. This isn't that big of a thing to admit, but Luke Thomas is a better option at left back than Oliver Skipp.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's not a left back, is he, Oliver Skipp? If you're an absolute emergency, you could try him there. You've got 3 games in the week, and you need someone to go there. But surely you play Bade Aluko in that position either. I mean, it's just not
I think the best left back performance we've had was that second half. What happened? Who was it, Steve? You must have been there.
Derby,
When
he dropped back into that position.
when Skip dropped into left back, because then he dropped in at centre back the week after, didn't he? But
Wasn't that
the
when
game,
him and Booba Samari were both at centre back for one game under Marty when we were chasing against, was it Charlton or Oxford or something? It was some crazy.
yeah, I think our best left back performance this season came from Oliver Skip, and I genuinely fucking mean that. Like, I genuinely mean that. But I do think it's a very bold thing. I don't see Gary Rowett ever trying it. But I think now, obviously, with Victor out and Steve, with Victor being out, it will literally be the case of if Thomas needs to come off for whatever reason, he's knackered or he's on a yellow, nearly on a red, or he's injured or red carded, whatever. I think it'll be a Luco then to come in at left back.
I actually think that he will push Nelson to left back like Marty did and have a centre back come in as a sub.
Yuck!
If that's the case. Yeah, no, I disagree. It's a horrible thing to think about, but Nelson has played left back, and yeah, I could see Luke Thomas being dropped and Nelson being at left back. That's for sure.
Anil, Nelson or Skip at left back?
Is Skip left-footed? If he's left-footed, I'd rather have a left-footed player there.
He's both. Well, actually, I say he's both. I think he's neither.
I was going to say, some might argue that. Well, the overhead kick was pretty good, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure that was with his right foot. But no, look, Ben Nelson at left back just looked completely lost in that game. It just did. That's not the answer.
And I think
we could see a
Skip
change in formation.
Well, you could,
happen.
yeah, of course, yeah, you could see a back three, absolutely. I mean, if you went for, I mean, for me, it would have to be kind of what a Luco as the right centre back, personally.
Yeah.
What
And
would
then
do
you
here?
probably put Ricardo at left wing back, right? And then Abdul at right wing back.
Well, I think you could go. Yeah, I think you could go like Fatawu as a right wing back, to be honest, because he gets up and down that right side a lot. Personally.
Yeah, I mean, instead of Thomas, you have Ricardo on the left side.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, I see.
Abdul on the right.
Yeah, and then you could kind of have, you could have a midfield three, I suppose, and like a 10 like that,
and then you could have Skip in that middle of the park.
Fatawu played left wing back for Sporting under Ruben Amorim at times.
And
that's
Oliver
what
Skip
Steve
played
Cooper
left wing
tried.
back.
Yeah,
Oliver Skip played left wing back under I can't remember who it was under, but it was a couple of games. But yeah, well, you could have you could have Mikasa dropping off. Anyway, we're getting into technicalities there, but yeah, we kind of agreed on what our best team was. It will be interesting. Definitely will be interesting to see what Gary Rowett goes for. On JJ, he's back in training. He's in contention for this weekend. I don't think he'll play. I agree with you now. I don't think he'll play this weekend, but the following week, maybe so. Maybe
no,
so.
last 10 minutes, if we need something, he'll be bundled on with the rest of them, I'm sure.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I suppose if he's needed, if we're losing. But yeah, I mean, I ask this quite often, so I'm going to ask it again, and I will put a poll in as well. Steve, now that you've seen 2 games under Gary Rowett, how confident are you that we can stay up?
Ask me again after Saturday. I think if we lose now. I'm not confident, in all honesty. If we lose on Saturday and West Brom beat Oxford, for me, the confidence levels of this team will drop again, because 4 points is actually a decent amount to try and get back. And yes, we've got a run in that is more beneficial than West Brom's, but in this league, when you're not confident and you're playing poorly, you can lose week in week, even like with bozo moments, as we know. I said it in the group chat earlier that I had this weird feeling that we're going to go into the last game of the season needing to beat Blackburn, and we'll lose to Blackburn and we'll get relegated because it's not in our hands. And I just can't shake it. I just think that we're done. It's too late. I know he's got 12 games, but for me, it's just too late.
And Neil, how are you feeling about the situation now, mate?
I don't know. I think if we had more games, I think we would survive. But as you say, we haven't got many games left, so we'll have to wait and see how it goes. I mean, I think if you looked at the form guide, what Steve's just said there is what you'd expect. You'd probably expect after this weekend for West Brom to have got more points on us, right? I think our easier run comes up in a few more games, and maybe after that we can judge. So based on that, I mean, just you'd have to say it still looks pretty grim. But we could turn it around, but we need to get some wins. I think if we beat Norwich, then you asked in the we're not going to do a watch long, or maybe we will if Luke's doing it or whatever. But I think if they did the poll, then will we survive if we win that game? Even if West Brom win theirs, I got a feeling most people will probably say yes, we'll do it. If we draw or worse lose, then I don't think people will. So I think it really depends on getting that bit of momentum.
Also, don't forget we could get an extra 2 points if we appeal and we lose the appeal. So that'll be nice. Imagine being relegated because we get an extra 2 points for appealing.
Or we could lose a point or two. Who knows? But yeah, West Brom. I tell you what is very interesting. Actually, let me bring this up. This was sent to me by my manager actually at work. Now, and I'm sure Anil, you've probably already looked at this yourself and stuff. But it was the XG table, and it is very concerning in my opinion. And I'll show you why, not just the Leicester reason. This might be really hard to see, and obviously to the visually impaired on Spotify, you won't be able to see it at all. This is very hard to see, actually, so apologies. But Leicester City obviously down in 22nd. West Brom are in 9th. And Blackburn are in 10th. So the reason why that's so worrying is because West Brom have obviously sacked their manager. If they were to have an upturn in results, which is entirely possible, we could be left for dead. We really could be left for dead. Also, by the way, on that, Hull are 23rd. And where are they? 6th in the league. 5th, 6th. So, yeah. But that's really worrying. I mean, I know we look at XG all the time and stuff, and a lot of people don't really buy into it. Jamie from Leicester Fan TV is probably saying, "Oh, no, that XG tippy tappy modern day bullshit." But XG, I mean, we know XG isn't always. It kind of gives you a rough idea on where you're going to end up. And under
the Marty era, we said multiple times that our XG had us down in the bottom 3, and that was the worrying thing, is that we were picking up these points, but the stats said that we were that bad, and that was the worry, that if these wonder goals stop coming, will we get found out? And what's happened? We have ended up in the bottom 3. Yep. So that's the problem, is that this stuff does come back to get you. So that is worrying that those two teams have got better underlying data. But the data can change. And what will change it is if you do have a new manager, a change of approach, some new players coming in. So that could also happen with us. We've just got to make sure it does happen. I think... Look, I would say that a big point is going to come when we do get our first defeat under this manager. Because, that's the end of the new manager bounce, so to speak, isn't it? So like I said, if it comes at home against Norwich, that's going to be pretty unfortunate that it happened so early on. Whereas like I say, if you get a win, all of a sudden, you can kind of push there. So I don't know. I do feel if we are going to get out of it, I think we do need to win on the weekend. And I think if we won a couple of games, just keep in the race. I still think if we're like 4 points behind West Brom, it's not too bad. But I think if it goes beyond 2 wins, that I can't see us clawing that back.
Yeah, and if you have an early goal, which we love to give away early goals at the weekend, unfortunately, that stadium will turn again and it will get toxic at half time. So,
do you really think that's the case, even with the new manager?
It depends on the performance. If it's a performance like at Stoke at that first half, and we're 1-0 or 2-0 down at half time, then I think that the stadium turns and you hear booing at half time. If it's 1-0 and the players are putting in the effort, and I don't think you'll hear that. But yeah, it's just I said it at the beginning of the show. Saturday's game for me is the biggest game of the season because they are beatable. They're not far above us, and we should be. We have the talent in this squad to win these sorts of games, and we need the points on the board now.
I just brought up the zoomed-in version of the XG table for those that were asking for it. So there you go. You can see it. I'll scroll down those on YouTube. And you can see Leicester City there down in 22nd, exactly where we're meant to be. Zero change there. And obviously, as I said, West Brom are 12 places worse off than they technically should be according to expected points. Blackburn 10 places
Portsmouth,
off.
13th.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so that's expected points, not just expected goals. That's even worse then, because as you say, that implies that we're exactly where we should be.
Yeah, I think this is expected points, yeah.
Yeah. They said, wow, how Hull got away with that? That's incredible.
18 places, eh? That's mental.
Yeah.
That's mental.
Yeah.
James, if you go to the start of the show, we did show it on the screen. Has our XG improved under route? Not massively. Statistically, the it's not massively improved much, but again, we talk about the effort and stuff like that. That's what the effort is. What gave us those 2 points, against Stoke and Middlesbrough. So hopefully that continues this weekend. Okay, we're going to end it there. Thank you to Anil. Thank you to Steve. Thanks to all of you in the live chat. Thanks to you listening on Spotify as well. If you're listening on Spotify, come over to YouTube and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube now, head over to Spotify and follow, subscribe, whatever it's called over there. I don't know. I'm still learning it. So yeah, as I said, we will be at the Unite for all three of us. We will be at the Unite for Change protest on Saturday. Again, one more time, 11:30 a.m. Probably be there a little bit earlier than that, but yeah, maybe 11:15 outside F Bar on Walnut Street. And yeah, there we go. I think Imran's going to be there. Leicester City Udi Reese. I wonder if he'll be wearing his Udi. I know he's going to be there. There's lots of other content creators are going to be there. There's some journalists that are going to be there. So yeah, let's wait and see how it goes. But cheers all. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. No more 200 grand, but our new sponsors, The Beautiful Frame, have smashed it with this Jamie Vardy piece. It's unreal. They're a local Leicester business as well, which makes it even better. And not just City, they do prints for other clubs as well. So it's perfect if you are stuck for a birthday or Christmas present for one of your friends or family. Now, the best bit, they have sorted BTG viewers out with a discount. Just use BTG12 at checkout for money off. BTG12. Grab yours now at thebeautifulframe.com. The link is down below.